Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi, I am Nora Fitaria from the Information Systems Department. This time I will explain about the audit of information infrastructure and operations. Information infrastructure and operations audit is a process to evaluate and ensure that information technology, IT, infrastructure and information operations in an organization function efficiently, effectively, and securely. This audit covers various aspects of IT systems, hardware, software, networks, and operational management policies that support various business activities of the organization. Infrastructure and operations audits require sufficient technical expertise for the auditor to fully understand the technology being examined. Lacking technical knowledge, interview subjects may provide explanations that avoid important facts that the auditor should know. Here are the key components of an information infrastructure and operations audit. 1. IT infrastructure audit. This audit focuses on the physical and technical elements that support an organization's IT systems, such as hardware, software, networks, and data storage systems. The first is hardware. An examination of the condition and performance of servers, computers, network devices, routers, switches, firewalls, and data storage devices. Disks, cloud storage. Ensure that the hardware is functioning optimally and that no devices are obsolete or no longer meet operational needs. Second, software. Assess the feasibility and licensing of the software used, including operating systems, business applications, and other supporting software. Ensure software is updated and properly managed to avoid its vulnerability to attacks or damage. Third, network and network infrastructure. Assess network security, topology, and performance, such as connectivity, bandwidth, latency, and reliability. Verify the use of proper security protocols to protect transmitted data, such as the use of VPNs, firewalls, and data encryption. The last one is the data storage system. Evaluation of data storage systems, including data recovery, backup, integrity, and access management. Ensure that sensitive data is protected with encryption and regular backups. 2. Information technology operations. Access management and control. Assess how access controls are implemented in IT systems and networks. This includes who has access to systems, how access rights are granted and revoked, and whether appropriate access control policies are in place. System security. Examine the security policies in place, such as the use of encryption, secure password management, multi-factor authentication, and protection against malware and viruses. Operational procedures and policies. Review existing policies and procedures to ensure that IT operations are properly executed, including data backup policies, change management, and disaster recovery procedures. Incident management. Assess how security and operational incidents are managed. This includes reporting, investigation, and recovery processes from system disruptions or security breaches. Data storage and management. Examine how data is stored and managed, whether effective data backup and recovery policies are in place, and whether sensitive data is protected in an appropriate manner. 3. Disaster recovery and business continuity. Disaster recovery plan ensures that the organization has clear and effective recovery procedures in place to restore systems and data after a disaster, such as a cyber attack, fire, or natural disaster. Business continuity plan identifies the steps taken to ensure the continuity of business operations despite a serious disruption in the IT infrastructure. What is the Information and Operations Infrastructure Audit process? Information and operations infrastructure audits are typically conducted through several key steps. 1. Audit planning. Planning is the first and most important step in the audit process as it will determine the scope, objectives, and approach used in the audit. At this stage, the auditor works with management to clarify several important elements. Establishment of audit objectives. Determine the main objectives of the audit, e.g., ensuring data security, evaluating operational efficiency, checking regulatory compliance. Determine whether the audit will focus on the entire IT infrastructure or only on certain parts, e.g., network, applications, or data. B. Determining the audit scope. Select the components to be audited, such as hardware, software, networks, security policies, operational procedures, and risk management. Ensure that the audit scope covers all relevant areas and reflects the critical areas of the organization's IT infrastructure. C. Risk identification and prioritization. Auditors identify potential risks that the organization may face, both technical, e.g., hardware failures or vulnerabilities, and operational, e.g., procedural inefficiencies or managerial issues. Assess the areas most at risk and prioritize the critical elements that should be examined in depth. D. Determining the audit methodology. Select an appropriate audit approach, e.g., control-based, risk-based, or objective-based audit, using appropriate audit techniques such as interviews, observations, control testing, and document analysis. 2. Data collection. Once the audit planning is complete, the next step is to collect relevant data to conduct the evaluation. What can be done at this stage is to collect information related to existing IT system policies, procedures, and configurations and conduct interviews with IT personnel and review existing documentation. 3. Evaluation and analysis. At this stage, the auditor begins to evaluate the information that has been collected to assess whether the existing systems and controls are adequate or whether there are still deficiencies. This is the core step in the audit where the auditor identifies and analyzes areas that require attention. A. System security analysis. Examine access controls to ensure that only authorized persons can access sensitive data and systems. Evaluate security-related policies and procedures, such as the use of data encryption, password management, and intrusion detection. Analyze whether there are any potential vulnerabilities that could be exploited by unauthorized parties. B. Performance and efficiency analysis. Assess whether the IT infrastructure supports optimal business performance or whether there are unused or inefficient resources. Examine whether there are obstacles in the flow of information or bottlenecks in networks and servers that can affect productivity. Identify whether any infrastructure needs to be upgraded to support scalability or future growth. C. Compliance analysis. Check whether IT systems comply with applicable regulations and standards, such as GDPR, HIPAA, PCI DSS, or ISO 27001. Evaluate whether the organization's policies and procedures related to personal and sensitive data comply with applicable laws. D. Risk assessment. Identify potential risks that could affect business operational continuity or data integrity, such as the risk of cyber attacks, hardware failure, or natural disasters. Assess whether risk mitigation measures are well implemented and whether the organization is prepared for the risk. 4. Testing and verification. This stage involves testing to verify whether the implemented systems and controls are functioning as expected and whether the identified risks have been minimized. Some of the methods used in this testing include: A. System security testing. Conduct penetration testing to identify vulnerabilities in applications, hardware, or networks. Conduct simulated attack tests to test the effectiveness of firewalls, intrusion detection systems, IDS, and other security mechanisms. B. Performance testing. Conduct load and performance testing on IT systems to assess whether they can handle high volumes of traffic and transactions. Measure system response time, server capacity, and service availability. C. Compliance testing. Verifying compliance with standards and regulations by examining audit records, compliance reports, and related documentation. 5. Preparation of audit report. Once the evaluation and testing are complete, the auditor should prepare a clear and comprehensive report containing findings, analysis, and recommendations for improvement. This report typically includes audit findings,